There, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect, perfect. So, well, it is 7:33, so we are going to get started officially. So, welcome everybody. You know, if it's Wednesday, it's Blockchain Day. Welcome to Blockchain Chat. We are all about the business of blockchain here at Black Blockchain Consultants. So, what does that mean? We're all about blockchain jobs, helping you start blockchain-based businesses, helping you invest in the blockchain, whether you're investing time or money into a blockchain project, and ultimately gaining some generational wealth through this $3.1 trillion industry. So I've got three of my partners in crime here. I've got Talisha, I've got Dr. Keisha, I've got Eric. We're in the building. We are here to talk about Coinbase. Coinbase has some interesting things that they've been doing very stealth-like, according to the article. So, you know, we're going to talk about it tonight, talk about it from our point of view, to talk about, you know, some of the ways that it may harm us potentially, and then some of the ways that it could potentially help us. We're also going to be talking about the great big scam that's happening in the Twitterverse that Talisha brought to our attention as well. So, you know, those are the couple of topics that we are going to be diving into tonight. I didn't write down my usual announcements, but February 19th and 20th of 2021, February 19th and 20th of 2021, Black Blockchain Consultants will be in Los Angeles with the beautiful Miss Naja Roberts. Unless the COVID thing isn't settled, then that's the only reason we would cancel, or an act of God. Otherwise, we are going to be there. It is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have conversations with regards to blockchain. We are looking at digitizing a piece of art or something like that, doing a real life demo of tokenization. We're looking at doing a real life demo of smart contracts. And so hopefully some of the people that are participating in the smart contracts group with Simba Chain will show off a lot of the stuff that they're doing. We are also talking about doing a strategy session with regards to some of the hot things that are happening in blockchain and how we can participate in that. You all know I want you to make money, 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 money from the blockchain. So, so we're going to be having those discussions on February 19th and 20th of 2021. So put that in your calendar. Don't book anything right now. There are no tickets for sale. Just put it in your calendar and we'll give you more information. Do we have any other announcements? I'm drawing a blank with announcements.
We have still the contest going on for the LinkedIn.
Oh yes, the LinkedIn contest. Okay, yes. If you want to win $20 worth of Bitcoin, and this is true here, then you are able to participate in our LinkedIn course. So I'll have Dr. Keisha talk about that. But the whole idea is you take a picture of your before, of your LinkedIn, and then you get the LinkedIn course that we have where we talk about how you can take your profile and make it much better, put blockchain into it so that it's searchable, and then show us your after based on the lessons you learned in that course. And if you show us a before and after, whomever has the best transformation, you will win $20 worth of Bitcoin. So, Dr. Keisha, will you tell everybody about that, that course, a little bit more about it and how they can get it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We need you to visit blockchainstudies.tech, and you're looking for the Blockchain Optimized LinkedIn course. Basically, it is my niece and myself were in this course, and everybody, all of the founders actually participated in the content of this course. And I'm telling you, there is some real actionable things in here that will get you positioned to really leverage LinkedIn for the powerhouse that it is for networking and for making connections. And if you do these things just so and just right, what could happen is LinkedIn will actually pull opportunities to you. And that can come from all different kinds of ways. And before you know it, if you feel like, I don't have anything to really put on there, we show you what it is you can do. Because if you're a part of this ecosystem and you are following along with what we've been saying, you're probably already ahead of the game. So it's time to kind of, use that information and showcase what it is And that course does just that. Again, it's Blockchain Optimized LinkedIn Profile course. And then further to another one, we actually have a bit of a bundle situation going on here too. We have a Future Ready Now bundle that includes the smart contracts class that we have, or course that we have, as well as the LinkedIn course as well. So there's that one. So that puts you on the smart contracts track. And then we have another future ready one that is the combination of the LinkedIn course and our crypto economic security course, which again puts you fast tracked on what's hot that's going on right now in the ecosystem. So check us out again, blockchainstudies.tech, and scale up.
And the most important thing I forgot is, if you are not a member of Black Blockchain Consultants and you want to consider membership, it's $100 per year. We have once a month, we get together as members only. Right now we're reading a book called The Real Business of Blockchain. And that is our book club, but we also have sometimes special people come in to talk about all sorts of things from how to raise money for your startup to, oh my goodness, the Simba chain demo that we did for smart contracts. We get to demo a lot of different actual blockchain platforms and things like that. So it's not just technical stuff. It really is the business side of blockchain, so that you can get the blockchain jobs or start the blockchain businesses or get on teams of people who are doing great things with blockchain. So, so yes, I cannot, I know I'm biased, but I can't recommend it enough. If you're serious about becoming part of this $3.1 trillion industry, blockchainstudies.tech. You can go there in order to become a member. And if you're watching this on YouTube for the replay, we are getting our numbers up. We're close to 1,000 subscribers. So I'm hoping if you're watching YouTube, you would give us a thumbs up and you would also subscribe to the channel. Okay, so with that, I want to give my co-founders, Talisha and Eric, a chance to just introduce themselves before we hop right on in to the topic of the day. So who wants to go first?
Talisha first.
Always you first.
Eric Spence, President of Blockchain Consortium International, the tokenization evangelist. Ladies like to call me the Titan of tokenization. I just believe that application of blockchain technology, like we just haven't scratched the surface of what we're going to see when it's applied into so many different areas of our lives, in terms of, particularly of finance and assets themselves becoming digital representations. So that's it. That's a big big piece of of who I am, of just loving that. And that's it. Always here. They'd be excited. Always on our blockchain chats.
Yeah. So we always remind people that in the next decade, $27 trillion per year, $27 trillion per year is going to flow through tokenization of assets. So if you want to talk about getting involved in a huge industry, following Eric, listening to the podcast that he suggests you to listen to, the people who are the pacemakers, you don't have to know everything. You just have to know enough to get involved, right? And then use that LinkedIn course to let everybody know what you know. And pick something. Y'all know how I am. Pick a niche, pick a major. So with that, Talisha.
I am Talisha Shine. I am the Vice President of Blockchain Consortium International. I'm also an Inner Circle member here. You probably see me a lot in our Facebook group as I curate most of that content there. My major is technology, obviously. So I am on that heavy tech side. I'm the behind the scenes person. So if you do have those technical questions and you want to know how it works, I am there. But I also kind of swing to the business side to make sure those applications are viable. and are actually, something that we can actually use, not just tech for tech purposes.
Well, thank you so much. So we're going to hop right in to Coinbase. Drums. Y'all know I love a great drama.
Like soap opera.
It is like a soap opera, exactly. Who needs Will and Jada when we have Coinbase, right?
Let's not go there. Like all my children, LinkedIn style.
It is all between that and the politics these days. I don't know what to do. Like I'm glad that we have drama in blockchain. So hey, let's go with it. Even though this drama could end up hurting us a lot more if we're not careful. But
Yeah.
All righty then. So the first thing I want to talk about is blockchain analytics, because this has to do with Coinbase selling blockchain analytics. So your first question may be, well, what is that? So they're basically saying that this article here is talking about the rise of data analytics and the fact that blockchain can play a huge part in analytics. So right now, only 10% of businesses have refused to utilize big data, and pretty much 100% of big business has utilized big data. Now we're starting to trickle down into small businesses using big data. And what this article talks about here is the fact that blockchain is going to be the equalizer when it comes to small businesses using big data. So what does this mean? The current state of predictive analytics is hardly perfect. A huge obstacle to overcome is getting quality data from different sources and correlating them. Blockchain tech might be able to fill the gap in this space. Blockchain's computational power is gained from multiple connected computers, hence it is powerful enough to define the model to be analyzed based on a vast number of data sets. It would use its power to analyze the different stored data sets across computers and pull up the ones that can provide the answer. What's more, blockchain may be the cloud equivalent to one physical supercomputer, which makes it accessible to small businesses. Blockchain analytics could be used in marketing strategies. Marketers could be able to prepare the future marketing campaigns with the help of data gained from market realities. The system might also be able to forecast price movements for financial markets, including cryptocurrencies. So, why is this a big deal? Because Coinbase is selling data analytics software to the US Secret Service. So, again, they're selling right now to the US Secret Service. The law enforcement agency awarded the contract to Coinbase in May, and it's a 4-year contract. And last month, The Block broke the story that Coinbase wants to sell its analytics software to 2 government agencies, the DEA and the IRS. The Secret Service is part of the Department of Homeland Security, and it's in charge of conducting financial crimes investigations. Most people only think of the Secret Service as following the president, but this is actually a bigger part of what the Secret Service does. It also, of course, protects the nation's top leaders, which we know. The contract is worth $183,750 in total. Now, if you all think that the only money that Coinbase is going to get is $183,000, we're sorely mistaken here. This is child's play to them. This is a billion-dollar valuation company. So the question is, what's their long game with this, right? The Secret Service is not the only government agency interested in Coinbase's analytics software. Last month, the DEA was looking to offer Coinbase $250,000 to use it. Again, that number, small. They have other plans. This is a bit of the controversy here. Coinbase built this software after its acquisition of intelligence agency Neutrino in 2019. The acquisition drew controversy due to Neutrino's founders' involvement in the Italian spyware firm Hacking Team, and Coinbase ultimately parted ways with team members associated with Hacking Team. Coinbase told the block that the information offered in Coinbase Analytics has always been kept completely separate from Coinbase internal data. Coinbase Analytics data is fully sourced from online, publicly available data and does not include any personally identifiable information for anyone, regardless of whether or not they use Coinbase. And there was something else in here that they said about being able to gather data online in order to identify certain financial transactions that were happening. So I don't know why I didn't highlight that, but I remembered reading that in this article, or in one of the articles that I read today. So I believe that this is, of course, the tip of the iceberg. There are going to be a lot of different applications for this Coinbase Analytics. And I'm going to open it up to my panel now to ask two major questions, maybe three questions. So the first is, what are the use cases that you could see for something like this in different industries? So that's number one. Number two is, how could it help the Black community? And number three is, how could it harm the Black community? So I'm going to let Talisha go, because Talisha usually has the way of structuring things in a way to get us thinking about it a lot broader.
Well, we broke it down. So I think there's two major components, and I'll answer the questions within those components. So we have predictive analytics, which is a very specific science. It's using aggregating data from multiple data sources. That's the very key aspect. It's not just a whole bunch of data from one place. It's a whole bunch of data from a whole lot of places. That's what predictive analytics is best to do, because it needs to aggregate large amounts of data sets in order to actually show you where the model is going. So that's the very first part that we need to be very conscientious of. And with predictive analytics, that is great for anybody who's doing marketing, because it tells you where your trends are going. So it can tell you what's going to be the hot new item for next year, what your kid want for Christmas come, the new year. It could also tell you why certain things are going on sale. So I know this is just an odd example, but McDonald's has a very interesting sandwich called the McRib sandwich. It has aggregators to tell when the pork prices fluctuate in order to actually sell that item. That's predictive analytics coming at you. Why I know this is because it's my favorite sandwich.
Well, I was going to say, I've also heard it in terms of, there was a gentleman that helped a wine store know what wine to sell in certain months, certain periods of the year, things like that.
Data. So if it was a heavy rain, then you don't want Pinot Noir, because those berries don't work very well. There's all these things, and that's what you need. You need a whole bunch of data to get you this. So from a marketing perspective, it could help a lot of different companies in general. Why the FBI, the IRS, and the DEA would want it is not for marketing purposes, obviously. So that's the whatever you want to call it, what their business is, because I won't say it's harmful, but it's their business to look at. They're looking at trending for other aspects across the United States as well as globally. And because Coinbase is a global company, that you are able to transact all over the world with that information, that tends to bring you a large amount of other data that you typically would not have exposure to. The second aspect is the computational aspects. Again, a supercomputer is worth millions of dollars just for the hardware itself. We're not even talking about the operating system and all the ancillary things that make a supercomputer run. So $180K for a cloud-based supercomputer is a steal. That's like going to Best Buy and getting yourself a little router. That's what that is. So if you want to put it in general terms. So now, not having to spend that money and have like a whole world full of supercomputers in a cloud-based access, which gives you real-time access to large amounts of data, you have an interesting setup to do a whole host of things. So again, we as consumers, and we spend a whole lot of money That may be good for us in the sense of when we do these blackout dates, for example. The minute we take our dollar out, those predictive analytics will show you very much how that's going to have a ramification on your business and your bottom line very quickly. Because if we do too many of them, that may have a ripple effect. So the converse of that is if they figure out how to mitigate for those blackout dates. And they'd be like, well, we don't care. We're going to do what we're going to do anyway. And we know that you're going to, do you and we'll do us. So that's the two part of where that data, because data can be used in any sources of ways. And so again, these are the whole aspect of that large amount of data and having a strong computational background to get that real-time data at your fingertips.
Eric or Dr. Keisha, so the three questions are, what use cases do you see for the Coinbase analytics and predictive analytics or blockchain analytics, let's say? Number two is, how could it help the Black community? And number three is, how could it harm the Black community? Either one of you.
I mean, listen, if you read that article at the top of the article, it said, it's always like the devil's in the details. And one of the things that you notice, it says that Coinbase has been trying to sell this previously. So it wasn't, but I guess I wonder, especially with the Secret Service, but it also mentions the IRS in there too. So like those three little letters that come like snuck in and they just keep moving on. Like, I'm like, okay, that's three big words, guys.
Yeah, right.
Secret Service, DEA, and IRS.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. But it's kind of like, okay, I kind of parse it between question 1 and question 3. You say, and this is kind of a question to a question. Was Coinbase squeezed into this? Because one of the things that Brian Armstrong, if you look at his response on Twitter, one of the things he talked about was, hey, in order for us to work with a legacy financial system where we're contacting and where we're, like they're probably the number one fiat on ramp from fiat to crypto. That he said, like we have to work together with them, and in AML, you don't know, that's anti-money laundering and the laws there, and KYC, know your customers. So we have to really make sure that we're working, really strongly with these agencies. So I kind of wonder, were they squeezed into this, and they were asked this some time ago? Hey, let me know. You need to cough this up. You need to get here eventually. And they kind of capitulated, and now this is where they are. I don't know. It just seemed, even when I read his response, it seemed like he was kind of like, it's just a cost of doing business. That's pretty much the way he kind of sounded.
There's a caveat, because again, they purchased Neutrino and they did a hard push for them. Yeah. Like all last year, they made, literally in 2018, they started. They kept courting them and courting them and courting. And so they knew they wanted them. Yeah. And they paid an exorbitant amount of money for them. So they could have gone on and ALM and KSE, we could have still done that within the exchange purview. There was really no need to purchase a business analytics tool, because if you're doing your main core business is exchange, your data transfer is really not your base is truly customer transaction. That's truly your KPI for your business model. Mm-hmm. Data for your business model really didn't come in there, because what are you doing? You're saying that we're an exchange. We're just making sure that the transaction has gone successfully and we're keeping your anonymity. That's your biggest selling point. Why then you bring something in that instantly compromises that? That goes totally against your business model when you say, now I'm actually tracking your data. It's very difficult to make that sell.
Okay, I agree. Now this is what I want to say. And listen, I am not, I'm being as neutral as I can in this, but okay, one of the things that I know that he did say was this technology, if they were using third-party agencies, it was that they just didn't trust that.
Correct.
So that's why they wanted to purchase Neutrino, is they wanted to have that in-house. And you notice it kind of went in, they kept the technology, then they fired the hacking team. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. But I guess it's really interesting because, listen, let's just be honest. Let's just say one thing about Coinbase, okay? And Talisha, you talk about this a lot, and you look at our calls we had last week with Rohan, with Dr. Keisha and I. You know, you've all said the same thing. One of the most important things for blockchain, like mass adoption, is UX. Okay. Coinbase has a beautiful UX.
It does.
This is really behind, like, it's almost like an Amazon experience. I mean, it's really smooth. You're not sitting there going, man, why didn't it say? I mean, sometimes, you know, when, you know, we get spikes or whatever, it's like, oh man, how are you down? But for the most part, it's really smooth, really user friendly, even for people who are just getting in. They can kind of like walk through it or whatever. So they're good when it comes to that. But I just kind of wonder, well, dang, is that, you know, is that even more of a Trojan horse? I don't know. I'm trying to
think more.
Experience, as you say, you're crafting a user experience from a whole host of things. But again, this is where, who is your user? When you ask that question, because businesses have both internal and external clients. Yeah. We may be a user, but so is the FBI at this point, or the DEA, or the IRS, or the Secret Service. They are the users of that service.
And ultimately the Fortune 500. And even what they're saying with the blockchain analytics being, you're able to pull it down to the small business owner. So, you know, that $1 billion valuation is just the beginning of this whole thing. You know, if they're trying to be the next Amazon, if you think about it, Amazon started off with books. Well, now what do? They deliver everything you could possibly imagine. You could have your own store on Amazon. You can, you know, have an affiliation with them and just sell other people's products. And they now they own Whole Foods, right? So I imagine Coinbase being kind of the same thing, where they're looking 50 years down the road and saying, how can we touch like the new world order? That's why I'm kind of you know, like I wish I was Vanessa Braxton and these people that had gotten into Coinbase, you know, when I don't know if the minimum was $500 or whatever, but like I'd be jumping around right now if I were one of those people. I probably wouldn't tell anybody I owned shares in it.
We are this close to the IPO.
Well, yeah, you know, so I think that I had some other notes written down here too, which I'll talk about when Dr. Keisha finishes. But I do think that when I said this, the 183,000 is the very beginning. It's kind of like a test. Let's test it with the U.S. government. The U.S. government, you know, let you get the kinks out of the system, and then, you know, you're able to go to the multinational companies, you're able to go to the banks, you're able to go to small businesses, you know, et cetera, because the government has helped you kind of flush this whole thing out. So
exactly.
Yeah. Dr. Keisha, you hadn't had a chance. So.
Yeah, my take was that I feel like, as you mentioned, Eric, this has been the easy onboarding approach to cryptocurrency exchanging and that kind of thing. And most people pretty much know them for this business side for just the public, but they actually have other products. They have, you know, stuff for traders. They have enterprise level, you know, and when they got attacked, or not really attacked, I guess, and maybe they were attacked by the government early on, you know, IRS, when that big shift came over and we all were trying to figure how are we going to put our crypto purchases and whatnot on our taxes and all that kind of stuff. You know, it was just like, you know, hey, maybe they were like, you know what, we are in this, you know, innovative space. You know, if we can't beat them, join them kind of thing, you know, in which case, if we're at the table when we know that we understand this technology and these regulations and such like that are going to be created, they might as well be there, you know, who knows? I think that might be their kind of play. But in terms of the analytics, you know, when we're talking blockchain, we're talking shared data. So the next step, as we've been talking about forever, is data, you know, so you might as well have some way to analyze all that data. They're already tapped into blockchain. You have to have the AI to make sense of all that data. And what do we need it for? We see how volatile the cryptocurrency space is. Why not continue to use the technology to try to make sense of that, you know, and get an edge on it, particularly when one of your business lines is for advanced traders. How awesome is that? As a matter of fact, that's the Forex program I'd like to be a part of, where we're leveraging AI to help me make some decisions about what I'm looking at on these graphs and whatnot. That would be awesome. So
Yeah.
there again,
The only
they're
problem is
positioning.
if everybody has it, then you know how much of a how
Well,
much of
well,
a
you know
help
how
is it
that
really
goes.
going to be if everybody has it?
Well, you know what, well, think about it though. Everybody's got the internet, but everybody's not using it like that. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff to be found on here, and we got people still looking at cat videos and whatnot. And here we are talking blockchain and what's next. So, and I can tell you that's for real. That's my business, is helping people with their digital literacy. It's, you know, it's amazing. You can find anything, but you got to look for it, you know. And as you know, Talisha, the way these cookies and stuff work, you know, as you and many of us know now too, whatever you're looking at, you get pushed information now. So that also keeps you in a little bubble, you know, if you don't go beyond that. So in terms of our community, you know, it's one of those kind of things, you know, as we were talking about, it's all about that education, you know. Get in here early, learn what's going on, so you can kind of hedge your bets and watch the news to see what this means. Listen to us to see what, you know, get on those podcasts that Erica listens to and you listen to, Sheree and Felicia, you know, to kind of get a edge on what's going on. So because we definitely are moving to cryptocurrency and digital currencies anyway. So it's just time to learn this stuff and catch the angle.
So let's talk about some use cases that we see, especially maybe some use cases we see in the Black community. So I wrote these down. I'm not judging. I'm just saying that these are some use cases that could be used all over, but including our community. So one could be, you know, in terms of trafficking, you know, trafficking drugs, trafficking illegal substances, trafficking slaves, especially because we know on the continent there's a lot of slavery. But, you know, slavery is not, of course, just for Black people. There's a lot of Asian slavery as well. So I just kind of wrote that down. Also, some of the predictive analytics around health. We know that there are health issues that our people have that we're more susceptible to, but I wonder if we're able to find more hotspots or use this blockchain analytics to find more hotspots for certain health issues or health disparities or things like that. I'll be very interested in hearing what Talisha thinks about that, because I know that she helps people also make sure that that information doesn't come back to harm us. So we could talk about that. Some positive things that this blockchain analytics could potentially do is, if everyone's familiar with the term a green book, right? So back when there was segregation, Black people couldn't just walk into a Marriott and stay in the hotel. I think all of us that's on this call and then Facebook, we're familiar with that. So our ancestors had this green book that would tell them where they could stay, you know, sleep over, eat, things like that. And now people are starting to talk about putting together a virtual green book. I wonder if blockchain analytics would help us not only do that, but also do what Kezia Williams is trying to do with My Black Receipt. And not only do we know who all the Black business owners are, but we also automatically can know at any time how much money is spent on those Black businesses on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, et cetera, so that we could start running more business to those companies. So that could be, you know, and we could do some predictive analytics as well in regards to that. Certain blackout days, certain, you know, Cyber Monday, Black Friday, Kwanzaa, you know, 4th of July, things like that. So I'm just throwing out some ideas. And then the final one that I have is a little, you know, 10K project, right? So for those of you who don't know, the officers and I have a separate company and movement that we've launched around helping Black investors fund Black businesses. And I wrote here, we could use blockchain analytics to predict when a person would be most likely ready to invest. You know, whether it is something happens in their life, they come, you know, they inherit some money, they reach a certain age, you know, they start Googling certain things. What if we our company had that. So how could we help our Black businesses use these blockchain analytics in order to increase their income, reduce their expenses? You know, our companies, there could be something around hiring, being able to know to know if this person is the right hire. You know, could we use blockchain analytics to figure out if this person would be the right hire, or if you hire them, you know, the greatest chance for them to be successful is they have these additional trainings, et cetera. So again, I'm kind of thinking outside the box here, but I'll open up the floor, and, you know, let me know what you think in the chat as well on Facebook and in Zoom with regards to anything I said or any other use cases that could help or harm the community.
Yeah, you called out a lot of them. Anytime we have kind of a digital, what do you call that thing? The crystal ball of sorts, you know, that's essentially, you know, all of those different things. There's just about anything that we really have ever wanted to know beforehand, we would essentially be able to do, only because blockchain would be pulling those oracles of data from so many places, and they can be just like innocuous kinds of things that might seem innocuous now until everything is aggregated. And then we, like in terms of even businesses, business ideas, a lot of times I would love to know what are the hot niches, you know, niche businesses, you know, or you know, where the gaps are for whatever communities that probably likely have not been identified in times past, you know. So I could see predictive analytics being huge for that. And certainly, you know, in terms of being an educator, just knowing what to teach people, you know, to future ready them, or to ready them right at the moment for what's next, what's now, you know, that kind of thing.
I mean, you know, one thing I want to say in just listening to you, Sheree, when you were talking about that, like, listen, they say, you know, it only takes 3% of the population in order for a movement, a social movement, to be started. And it makes me wonder, is thinking about this, is pulling the data, pulling the analytics so that you could use some kind of predictive analysis. So that if there was a political cause that we all wanted, we all believed in, we all, at least for the most part, we all felt that, you know, we wanted to really get behind as a community. I just wonder, like, if we could do that, if we could then really, like Dr. Keisha said, use a crystal ball to really peer ahead and to look at that so that we could really look to come together at a period of time to make that happen.
Yeah, do some real social good, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to hit different points. So you said clinical trials. That's a major one for blockchain analytics, because again, we have to crunch a large amount of data from varied sources from globally, because again, what we're treating here in the US is not how we're treating things in every other country. And clinical trials is very difficult. This also goes into supply chain. It kind of just tiers into that process where we need just-in-time inventory, which again, we've known for years and years and years ago, car manufacturing used just-in-time, and that's kind of displaced the steel industry. But if we can now take the analytics and do just-in-time inventory, now we have a super supply chain, meaning that you get the things that you need when you need them, how you need them. And that interconnects right now to you're delivering everything right now. So if I could have it delivered, I have a smart, you know, kitchen that tells me I need eggs and I need things. And if I tell that I need my Pinot Noir, it can tell me where to get it from and deliver it to me. Right. So all those things start to correlate together in getting you medication, supplies that you need for everyday use. COVID would have been very different if we had this particular aspect from seeing how it actually transformed and migrated in the individuals and in the countries that it most affected, seeing those populations, what they were doing, why they were doing it, who was most susceptible. All of that could have been translated. And again, we've seen it used in different countries because they were using some of that data already. It wasn't blockchain, it was other data being crunched, but they were using that very successfully. So we see countries like New Zealand who literally eradicated their COVID by using the predictive analytics. because they said these are the things that we have to do, and we have to do them in this order. So it gave them not only the info, it told them the roadmap of how to take it. And that's the power of having data available to you and having it make sense. So again, it's not data for data's sake. It's actionable, it's viable, and it tells you what you need to do. From a small business owner perspective, this is where our community could greatly, how to get the best deals, again, on your inventory. You don't need to have maybe a warehouse anymore. You can do it just in time and basically drop ship, just like you do with Amazon. But now you have the data to make sure that you can have it ready and willing. So if you do have a surge, this is where you don't have to wait, because that's what we're dealing with right now, is that everybody's on this buy black kick. They're not prepared because they weren't ready to know that they were going to get hit with everybody buying from them. And so now they're like, oh, I don't have the product. This would be a way to ensure that you had those products at those blackout dates or those other things kind of coming. And also just to streamline your business process. Maybe you don't need a storefront. Maybe you do. And if you do have a storefront, maybe you use those analytics to track. Again, everybody has their phone on them. You push them offers while they pass your storefront or in a 20-yard distance to you. This is how data works when it's viable data. It becomes a tool for you to market even when you're not fully present. And that's really how I think Black business, we're all over the world right now. So it's not like we can just go, some people have food deserts in their communities, or they don't have a Black business to go to, but they want to support. Within seconds, you can get that information by just pulling it up on your phone. And again, all those little pieces, having the supply chain viable, having a drop ship viability, all of those things converge, and it could just be a simple push of the button and you have your product.
Yeah, so Richard, I saw your hand was raised. I just want to make sure you meant to raise your hand. We can bring you on the panel. Just want to make sure you meant to do that. So I have a couple of other examples, and then we'll move on to our final. And then I'll bring Richard up. So hold on, Richard. Let me bring you up here. Oops. Oh, did someone bring him up already?
No, ma'am.
I see him here now. Hold on. Zoom was a little tricky. Okay, so I wanted to bring up a couple of more examples. Remember there was an article, I don't know if we talked about it here in BBC, but there was an article that talked about autonomous drivers and the autonomous driving vehicles, and the fact that they were more likely to hit Black people because no Black people were on the engineering team and no Black people were part of the beta test, apparently, right? So one of the things I'm thinking of is predictive analytics before these things even get out of beta. Like, have you tried every possible scenario before you put something out, you know? So again, I'm thinking of things that could help the Black community or hurt us as well. And that could be something, you know. Have you?
Insurance. That would be the opposite of that. So now you have the autonomous vehicle, but now you need insurance. Incremental insurance would be some predictive analytics. How long, how often do you go? How far do you travel? You know, in a year, how far have you gone from your house? Do you travel in-state, out-state? All of that could be aggregated and then predictive, and that could give you your incremental payment that could be actually tokenized again. And we can add a whole level of this to change the game if we add tokenization to the predictive analytics.
Go, Eric.
but you know, just by
another, we got IoT, AI, and then we have tokenization at the bottom. The data then lights itself up.
Yeah,
guys, that's the point I want to bring out is, you know, we see how quickly we shifted and pivoted with COVID. I think we really are at this moment in time where we are about to shift to exactly what you're saying, because we need blockchain, but not just blockchain alone. We need the AI, we need the Internet of Things, and all of those things are just coming together. We got, you know, 5G, so the power of the stuff, you know, all the little this, that, and the others, you know, so it's really on us, guys. I'm telling you, it's really here. And another thing I want to say about that predictive analytics piece in terms of another benefit is, you know, we can do a lot of, well, now that we have, like, let me throw another tech in there, AR, you know, augmented reality and what's the other one?
VR.
VR.
VR, virtual reality. With that, paired with predictive analytics, you can have what's called a data pair, where you can kind of start to do some of the things you were talking about, Eric. Like you can not imagine, but you kind of would know that there's some type of weather change coming on, and you can see and play around with different ways that you can mitigate that, with a digital space. You haven't built anything, you haven't disrupted anybody's life, but it's coming. You can play around with the possibilities in this digital space and then implement it in real life or not, make those decisions on this virtual space, but basically everything that was in Minority Report, the good, bad, and indifferent, that's where we're at right now. We're at that point.
Right.
If anybody's seen that movie, if not, something to watch over COVID lockdown.
So Richard, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I'm honored.
So what do you think?
When you talked about predictive analytics, that's what I do, and I've been mostly studying how the markets are flowing, and with the uptick and the inflow of big money managers and fund managers such as Grayscale getting into the market, in addition to banks such as JP Morgan Chase, they particularly put in money in the market in certain periods of time. Now, with these big money managers, they usually start buying it on Mondays. And it also depends on the time of month and coming up to the end of the quarter when they're going to start taking profits too also. So you can use predictive analytics when you start to, whether you want to take profits and or actually put money to work in the market, in addition to the time of year too also. And the great thing about cryptocurrency, you don't have to buy an entire token and or coin. Right. So it levels the playing field for the Black community that sometimes don't have, $9,200 just to buy one Bitcoin, and be able to level the playing field that way, in addition to prior trading history. So what I do is do technical analysis, also use the news as a benefit to also, a seasonality. So when you said predictive analytics, that was right up my alley.
Right.
Yeah. In addition to what I'm learning to also through the classes and smart contracts and what use cases, between the assets and the transaction it can help us more to predict what products or use cases to actually either invest in or actually start building smart contracts or whatever vocation you like to get into, whether it's entrepreneurial and or a job, to either do sales or be a project manager and so on and so forth.
That's actually really smart, because that goes back to what Dr. Keisha was saying about education and being able to know that you have a certain group of kids, for example, that you really want to think about steering a certain way, because there are certain jobs in, a decade that are going to need them. And then you're able to add on certain coursework for those young people so that they can be ready for those jobs in the future. So yeah, I think there's a lot of different applications. I did want to go over our final article, and then we can.
One more use case that would be really helpful right now is that, again, we're having a lot of these individuals putting monies into Black businesses, Black funds, and all of that. This would be the perfect time to aggregate that data to see where that money actually goes and what happened once they got the money.
Yes.
Track that all from just the true inception point of when were the funds released, what happened to them, how did they proliferate through the community, how many people did it happen, all of that would be perfect data for the predictive analytics.
So you're building that for us, right, Talisha?
I am doing that just right as soon as I get off this call.
Yeah, good. Only take you 20 minutes to whip that up for us.
I'll do it right now.
Come on, girl. Hook a sister up. Okay.
Gotcha. I'll work on it.
So Felicia did send us this about there were several Twitter accounts that were hacked as part of a crypto scam this weekend, including former Vice President Joe Biden's account that was hacked. He wrote, or let me put that in quotes, the tweet wrote, "I am giving back to the community. All Bitcoin sent to the address below will be sent back doubled. If you send $1,000, I will send you back 2,000, only doing this for 30 minutes. Now, I laughingly saw this when Talisha sent it. I don't spend really hardly any time on Twitter. And I thought, what moron would believe Joe Biden would write something like this? I said, Talisha, if it came from you, then I could kind of understand it, you know? But apparently it was Joe Biden, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, who doesn't believe in crypto, Elon Musk, Mike, I mean, like none of these people believe in
So
crypto.
they're all verified accounts. I said
They're all verified,
Yeah.
but like
Everybody
this
has a
is
verified
like,
account on Twitter.
I mean, this is where it's not even predictive analytics. I mean, this is where we got to use some common sense, you know. And I'm not saying I know that our people here would know better. I mean, come on now. But this is where we do need to use some common sense. So, I don't think I had anything highlighted here. So, Twitter accounts belonging to Uber, Apple, Cash App, and we talked about the others were also hacked. So several of the scam tweets were deleted shortly after they were posted, only to be reposted minutes later, a Twitter spokesperson said. And they are looking into the apparent activities. So Talisha, you said that this would wrap into our conversation today. So what were your thoughts in regards to, you know, blockchain analytics and how this story wraps in?
Particularly with I would say the government wanting to use the predictive analytics and seeing a pattern. This would produce a different pattern. Again, with all the data points that were happening, it was very easy to uncover because it was pretty much visible. I said everybody was a user, was a verified user. It was nobody who was unaccredited. So nobody with a blue check was making the tweet. The tweet all had the same kind of character count. It was all going to the same account, which was just established on Wednesday. So just yesterday, this account just came into, you know, purview. All of those things could have instantly, if you had a mechanism by which to look at all the data, this would have been a spike. This would have instantly shown you something was wrong. Right. And then you could basically reverse engineer to figure out where it emanated from, and which they're probably using on their own back end to figure this out, because it's obviously a Twitter problem. It didn't happen on any other social platform, and it wasn't purviewing out. It wasn't being shared outside of their ecosystem. So these are the kind of things that when you have data, like I said, at your ready, sometimes these spikes in activity, whether good or for bad, can tell you what's going on without you having to wait days and hours before, because this reached
somebody notices
$25,000 in just a couple days. It's been going on. So you say people are not using common sense because they're like, sure, I'll give you all my money and all my Bitcoin that I don't even have. Sure. If this is the game, I will gladly get on Twitter and help.
I know, right?
So, but that's what happens when you have, you know, basically data working for you. You instantly get that. And blockchain, again, because they were using a Bitcoin wallet, would have been, this is where Coinbase would have come in. They could have had that data readily accessible. Again, it could have been anonymized, but at the same time, seeing the activity, it's coming from a specific place and being routed to a specific place. So in that purview, you could have gotten some information to help you mitigate this situation.
Right, right. Anybody else have any other comments about that specific?
I'm just going to say one thing, and listen, I got this book back here. It's called 21 Rules for the 21st Century by Yuval Harari. And one of the subtitles is never underestimate the power of human stupidity. And saying this because, like, you know, $110,000 was sent on.
Wow, somebody really did that.
It's going. It's still, they have kind of shortened it, but it was still going the last time I checked. sir.
Oh, well, I'll
Oh.
punctuate that with the thought I had is common sense ain't so common.
Ain't so common. I know. Oh my goodness.
So at this point, we're
I
living
mean,
in
even if it were
conspiracy
something,
life.
even if it were something like, you know,
COVID.
mail your mail-in ballot here, or something that was political, you
Yeah.
know, I could kind of get it. I mean, it's bad enough that the robocalls come through, you know, and like me, I know the robocalls. My grandmother, who was 96 when she died, like you couldn't con her pretty much at all. Like I think she was only conned once, you know. She ran the numbers. I mean, you know.
That's why she
Her own predictive analytics going on.
May
I
she
know.
rest in peace. She had her own predictive analytics
If
for
she
that.
did, you better believe
Our
it.
human analytics at work, because I know how you operate.
For real.
Yes,
And
but
that's
you
the
know,
real
I
thing
mean,
too, you know?
but I mean, you know, street smart, and
real.
I think maybe that's another thing is making our people. Well, I believe our people are more street smart than we're given credit for. So,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, it's not enough to be book smart. We have to be street smart too,
Absolutely.
in everything that we're doing. So, yeah. So, any final comments, Talisha, Dr. Keisha, Richard? Any final comments for today?
This was a great conversation because again, this is where business, we're not even talking about the technology because the technology is going to do what it's going to do, but the business strategies and who is getting into business, this B2B is really becoming important, and we need to make sure that we're taking note of who is doing business with whom and for what purpose.
Exactly.
The thing I want to add is that we've kind of punctuated the idea of the habits of mind you have to have in these digital spaces now. You know, that's what that's what I try to teach. We got to be just as agile in our ability to recognize, you know, things that are, you know, are awry, you know, in this ecosystem. And it's getting tough, certainly, because, you know, we can't believe our eyes nowadays. Like we were just talking about, things look so real, like my background looks real, but, you know, it's not really here, you know, that kind of thing. But, you know, we have to become savvy in this digital space to recognize the kind of things you just talked about, verified accounts. And, you know, people are like, oh, what does that mean? You know, there's a lot of human stuff that, you know, gets us sucked in because we are human. We're emotional. And again, with predictive analytics, being able to know your temperature, because again, I'm sure if we got our smart watches on or whatever it is, that's got your heart rate and all that kind of information and all that gets aggregated in, my goodness, you know, that's the part that gets that. I think that's the part that most people are more fearful about, because they'll know more, whoever they are, they'll know more about you than you do, you know, kind of thing.
Right.
So we have to be careful.
Richard or Eric, either one of you have any final comments?
Yeah, that was it.
He's in the dark.
I could go on and on and on. I mean, well, here's one last thing I want to say. One thing too, let's just not leave this out of the conversation. All of those big accounts, nobody uses two-factor authentication for Twitter account.
Oh, they do.
Either that's that basic.
Again, this is not
digital literacy.
a petty thing. This is definitely some very well thought out internal. I'm going to say it like that. It's an internal issue. I'm so sorry because you can't get to verified accounts that easily. Just to
I was about to say.
That easy.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh, there's a whole lot of authentication that is truly bypassed. So
Interesting. Okay, got it.
Yeah, the only thing I gotta say is whoever's listening, just continue to watch every Wednesday, and any videos that come out right here. This is where you get the truth, you know, and all the knowledge, so you can get the power and continue to share.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and thanks for agreeing to come up. You're like,
I know,
one of the first
cherry
times
on
we
top.
haven't had to pull somebody up here. And the final thing that I will say is tonight's topic was a great lesson in teams and in groups of people getting together just to, you know, talk about different ideas. We brought up different use cases based on things that other people said. I mentioned, you know, potential use cases. I wrote down a couple that I didn't even mention, you know, on here, and vice versa. As we get more and more into the 10K project, one of the things that is really coming up is that nobody builds $1 billion business by themselves. Nobody thinks of the billion-dollar business by themselves. Nobody sets it all up by themselves. Nobody can do it alone. And I think one of the big things that we need to get out of if we want to really create strong 7, 8, 9, 10-figure businesses in the blockchain space, in any space, is we got to build teams. You have to have teams for brainstorming, for, you know, everything from idea all the way to execution. And tonight was a great example of, you know, this use case conversation with blockchain analytics and all of the ideas that were tossed around that could help and hurt the community. And then the world at large too. So I just want to leave that as my final nugget for everyone to think about. And again, if you're watching on YouTube or you're watching other places, please like and please subscribe so that we can get our numbers up. And don't forget about the LinkedIn challenge, $20 of Bitcoin. This is true, $20 of Bitcoin for the people who purchase the LinkedIn course on blockchainstudies.tech. You give us a before and an after of your LinkedIn profile, and best profile wins $20 worth of Bitcoin. The final date for you to submit your before and after profile is July 31st. So this is our July challenge for you. All righty. God bless everyone. I hope you had a great time here with Blockchain Chat tonight, and we will see you next week. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
All right.